All right, we are recording. Aaron, why don't you go ahead and share your screen while I introduce you? We've got Aaron Horner from Contractor Growth Network, also known as CGN. Title of the talk is using the webinar, using storytelling to sell more projects. If I could introduce Aaron with just reading a couple sentences here. Aaron is the lead videographer at Contractor Growth Network, who over the past 3 years has traveled across the country filming projects and client testimonials for successful remodeling companies. During that time, he's had the unique opportunity to hear directly from a wide range of remodeling clients. Today, he's here to share the insights he's gained into how homeowners make buying decisions and how remodelers can use storytelling to stand out from their competitors. Marketing is all about getting someone who has a need to know, like, and trust you. And in today's environment, in 2026, and frankly, it's kind of how it's always been and how it's going to be in the future, connecting with people via story is an extremely effective way to build know, like, and trust. So Aaron, I'll manage the chat box, keep the questions coming as we go. I will promise to not interrupt too much. And I will also say, boy, it's just really nice to have you on here instead of that Logan guy. Geez, that boss man of yours, we've heard enough from Logan. Let's hear from Aaron. I kid. But Aaron, go ahead and get us going here.
Awesome. Thank you, Kyle. What a beautiful introduction. So, yeah, like Kyle said, today is all about how can we use storytelling to sell more projects. Before we get into anything else, a quick introduction to who I am and who I'm not, I think, is helpful. There's a lot of times that at these events you'll have very successful business owners or people that have sold so much in revenue. That is not the perspective I bring. If you hear me saying something that I'm giving you sales advice or I'm telling you exactly how to run your business or things like that, that's not my lane. That's not what I'm trying to do today. My hope is that I have the experience as a traveling videographer that can give you a unique perspective on what you guys are looking to learn about storytelling. So rather than giving you all kinds of business advice and be some sort of business guru, I will stick strictly to my lane of what I have learned from experience on the road and practicing doing storytelling for a lot of years now.
Also
Yeah.
to keep us focused, Bailey and I were talking to Aaron before we started, and Bailey was asking about how's your travel? Because look at all this travel he's doing. And Aaron said, quote unquote, when I travel, I like to pick the weirdest, cheapest Airbnbs possible. If that doesn't sound, I think he's going to share a lot of wisdom. That is not wisdom right there. The weirdest, cheapest options he could possibly find. Carry on, Aaron, as you were.
Yeah, as I was. So yeah, I've to put it that way, I've stayed in a lot of Airbnbs all over the place. But along with staying in those Airbnbs, the main thing I was doing all across all that time was interviewing a bunch of different people's homeowners. So this is kind of people that is ideally your ideal client. These are people who are typically higher income, who are purchasing very high end projects. It's not like they're just buying projects, but I've talked to a lot of remodelers and they're saying these are our favorite projects. And these are our favorite clients. So it's like the top remodelers around the country, their top clients are the kind of people that I've been talking to. And so what I've been able to do from that is get a lot of insights on how to tell these stories. I've made a lot of mistakes on trying to tell these stories and failing. And I hope to kind of save you guys some time with kind of demystifying whatever this storytelling thing is that everybody keeps talking about. My hope by the end of this lesson, and you can take some of this advice and you can build it out in your business and you can have results like these. Like here's a couple of our clients, Justin with Full Spectrum and then Joe with Fry Remodeling. Both of them had people that came to their website searching, they had a problem. They came to their website, found a video and a web page that told a story that spoke to them, and it directly led to a sale. This isn't like some kind of like, well, in theory, it kind of works. These are people that legitimately said, I found you. I fell in love with that project. That's exactly what I want. I would like to move forward with something like that. That's what I'm hoping we can accomplish together today. So how are we going to do that? There's a few questions I want to answer and a few things. So the first thing is we'll talk about what is storytelling, not just the buzzword that a lot of people use, but what does it actually mean? How do you actually use it in your sales process? Why does it matter for closing sales? How does it actually connect with people? We'll go through some real examples that we've created and that I've specifically created And then the last section is going to be common mistakes that I've seen, more likely common mistakes that I've made that I will help you to not also make. And then from there, we'll do some Q&A. Typically, when I've done these talks before, a lot of people have questions about specifically, I'm looking for somebody in my area to do this. How can we find somebody to hire? What quality should be looking for? Things like that. So when we get down to that Q&A section, I can answer any specific questions that you might have. So first thing is, what is story? All of the social media platforms that I can think of over the last few years, with TikTok coming in, have shortened down to short form video, and they've talked all about like the way to keep people hooked now is through storytelling, and they all use the buzzword of storytelling. And people would even tell me at our company, like, oh, Aaron, he's a good storyteller. And it would frustrate me because I was literally like, I don't think anybody knows what they're saying when they're saying this word. Like, you're saying I'm good at this thing. I don't even think I know what this thing is. But after years of doing it and kind of thinking on it and ruminating on it, it really is essentially this. We're going to start very theoretical, and then we'll bring it down to a lot more practical basis for you guys. So starting purely with the theoretical, story is the way that we understand the world. You'll hear people say things like we always learn through story. Storytelling is like the oldest art form. All it is there is infinite information around us all the time. Like, you could be paying attention to the words on my shirt, the logos, the plants in the background, the color of the wall. There's an infinite amount of information your brain could be taking in. Story is how we connect what information is relevant to our goal. What are the things that we need to actually take out and help us achieve what we're looking to get to? So that's what story is. And I'll show you a little bit how you can actually practically implement that. But in a general basic sense, it's not a list of facts or opinions about a related topic. It's not a timeline. Sometimes when the people are making like about us videos, or they're trying to tell their company story, they always just say like, hey, we started this year, and then we went and we did this, and we went and we did this, and we went and we did this. It's not a story, or at least it's not a story that your clients care about. Story is truly just how we cut through the chaos of information, decide what's important, and decide what can be forgotten. So to make sure that you and your company and your projects can be remembered, that's why you need to do storytelling. That's why you need to understand what this is. So you can, instead of just be putting out random information that people will forget, you're actually connecting with people in a way that they will stick around, it will stick in their memory, and they will come back. So why does all this matter? It matters because you have to do this filtering of information every time you talk to a prospect about your projects. Every time you go through, you share a web page of one of your guys' projects. Maybe you're physically walking somebody through a project. Maybe you're creating a video for social media. You always have to answer the question of, what information do I include and what information do I cut out? There's a million things I could say. What things are the most important? And story is the antidote to this. It is the antidote to the curse of knowledge. I'm assuming, Kyle, is this group familiar with the curse of knowledge? I'm assuming.
I mean, they probably understand the concept of it, but it certainly hasn't been said that eloquently before.
Oh, dude. Wow. You're going to make me blush. Yeah. The curse of knowledge being, you guys know an insane amount of details about every project you do. You are absolute experts in your field. And when people are asking you questions, it's very easy to get lost in the details and all of these things and forget what the overarching story is. Story is your way to get out of that and give you a simple guide when you're recording that social media video, when you're talking to that client. Here's the things that I can always say to help connect with them. So I've been
Yeah,
talking all about, go ahead.
what's always so comfortable with, for a remodeler in particular, is, oh, if you want to talk about the 2x4 and you want to talk about the process for how we do the drywall and the different steps for that, like, they light up and they could talk about that for quite a while, just kind of natural. What you're kind of describing here is the story and what your client and prospect actually cares about, maybe something totally different. And yes,
100%.
the curse of knowledge, where somebody asks you a question because you're so knowledgeable about it, you just go down that rabbit trail for the next 10 minutes, and you probably ought to have just spent about 20 seconds on it.
Yeah, 100%. Because again, like that information that's all around us, what I was talking about before, you just start spewing a bunch of facts that are relevant to you, but after a while, they're not even listening to you. Like you're saying, you might as well have not really said anything at all. this might be what you guys see when you see a kitchen, is there's just a ton of information all over the place. But what you really need to be able to do is filter down to what information is actually relevant to the people. So let's talk about the basics of a story. How do we get to this information?
Apologize, Aaron. Go back to that previous slide.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, so essentially this is just all of the things that I'm thinking I've heard remodelers talk about when I'm like, hey, let's record a video about this project. They'll go through and they'll be like, oh man, this is a 10-foot long island. It's Cambria quartz countertops. We love this finish on here. This is fantastic. And they'll go through and they'll talk about, here's the subway tiles. We have open shelving. And they just go through and they just list all of the things they're seeing basically. And it doesn't put into context of like, okay, but why does any of that matter?
Good.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid. So when you get in that spot where you have tons of things to say and you need to filter it out, here's a kind of a simple process you can go through. Here's the basics, the most simple story I could think of to tell right here. We have a little ball, we'll name him Greg or Gary. Yeah, I like Gary. And he wants to go home. He wants to fit in this nice little circle of his, that's his house. That's simple enough. We can look at that and be like, it'd probably be pretty satisfying to see that circle. If I had to guess, I bet it fits just perfect in that little spot. I bet it would be super nice to see it there. But now we have a problem. There's this wall in the way. And our poor little Gary, he can butt up right against it, but he can't get around it. And if we want to make the story a little better, we make him try it a few times and keeps failing. That makes the story a little bit better. But we can make it even better, and now we sympathize with Gary. We think about how sucky that is, and we can think about the times we've had a problem, we've had something that we wanted to get, but there was something in our way. And we give him a little sad face, and now we're starting to think about Gary as a person, even though he's just a little circle on my screen. Then I go through and I say, well, what about this solution? What if we had a little ramp for Gary to go over? And so he comes through, and he can walk across, and he gets right up to his home, and he can go right in. And look at that. We've told a little story about a ball trying to get to a home. That's literally all it is you have a person has a goal, but there is a problem, therefore there's a solution. Ironically, I got this from the writers of South Park. They have a famous quote about what makes a story interesting, and they always talk about whenever you have story beats, whenever you have details, you're saying these people want this thing, and they're going to do this, and then they're going to do this, and then they're going to do this. They say as soon as you say and in a story, you're dead in the water. People lose interest. All of your connections in a story need to be buts or so's. So a good example of this is, let's say this right here. This was a kitchen remodel that we did for a client, Joe Fry, with Fry Remodeling. Actually, I'll go through and I'll show you the webpage. But the overarching story is all he did was a small island remodel. He basically just took a split level island and he brought it down. And so he did that. He did some changes on the cabinets, but all in all, like all things considered, this is a pretty small project in scope. But when we told the story of it, actually, I'll just go through and show you, and then we'll come back and analyze that. So here's the video that we made for him.
Hi, my name is Joe with Fry Remodeling and Construction. We're out here in Vail, Arizona.
Before I continue, you guys can hear this? Yeah? Cool.
And we completed a project, and I wanted to take you guys inside and have a look at it. John and Kathy reached out to us. They had some functionality issues in their kitchen, which they really couldn't utilize in the holidays with their grandkids and their family.
So we do a big cookie bake every Christmas time. I do like a lot of cookies, bread, and I wanted to do it with our grandkids. So we have 12 to 20 people here. And so it's been chaotic. The counter space was very limited.
Yeah, they were Corian, so they weren't as easy to work with because you had to be more careful not to damage the countertops.
and then there was a ledge around it.
Some of the younger kids had a hard time reaching up to that top level there to get their food.
It just wasn't real functional for us. I just kept seeing houses that had the flat island, and it just looked so much more functional. So then I started nagging him about it.
You talk to people who've had work done in their house.
So I'll pause it here because we can go over the rest of the examples as we go. But in that first little bit, you can kind of see that little story I showed you with the circle, Gary and his home. We've already set that up here. So it's not about all of the details. And Joe will go through here in a little bit, and he'll show you, here's the material that we picked out for the island. Here's why we did it. We put an air switch here. This is super nice. We love the air switch. We moved the outlets to the edges because they couldn't be on the top anymore. We had to cantilever it this much so that way when kids climb on it, there's endless details you can get into with this. But the things that's going to stick in somebody's brain, and literally this project right here was one of the ones that people found this video, said we want exactly that, and now we have another video on his site of, heck, I'm already on the site, I'll show you. This was it. Then they sold this project off of it, and literally these people came in saying, we saw it, we looked it up, the videos work well for SEO because at this point, it's something that can be trusted. As long as there's AI at this point, people can say whatever they want. But if you can physically show what you've done in a space, it's a much higher trust signal to Google. So they found that. They said, we want exactly that. And they moved forward with a similar project. That's the basics. I mean, that's entirely what we're looking to replicate as we continue this stuff. So let me go back here.
Good. So don't be shy about putting, even now that questions will start to come into your mind a little bit, don't feel free to put them in the chat box so we can circle back to them as we go. I mean, I just like Kathy and John. I met them for 90 seconds. Super interesting. Not everybody has their videos on, but Nancy and Luke and Matt and Brian and Bailey. I was watching, like all of you were smiling during it. Think about that. Like you didn't even know you were smiling. We were hooked. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't distracted by anything. Like, oh, what's this story? And it's moving and it's fun and it's just allowing you to get to know them and the situation. So it's interesting first example.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it's when you can watch these videos and it's hard to dissect it from the outside, you just take it in, you're watching all these cool things and you're not thinking about, well, what was the order things came in? But that's why at the beginning of this, I showed you the story of the ball and the home, because that's all it is. Every single story you ever see, that's all it is. So for Kathy and John, their home, the thing they wanted was that cookie bake that they do every year with their kids. They wanted to have a space where they could do that. They wanted to be able, that was their why. That was the whole reason why they got this remodel done. It's not because their kitchen was outdated. It's not because the functionality was bad. Those things were part of it. But the reason they pulled the trigger is because they wanted to have these memory-making opportunities with their kids. So if we're not telling that when we're talking to people about the project, we're completely missing the reason for why that project hooked the original people. If you just go in and you talk about the details, here's the cantilever angle on the island, here's how far the depth is, here's how it came out, that doesn't resonate with people in the same way. It's not memorable. It's helpful because it functions like the slide. It shows us how Kathy and John get over the hill and get to their goal, and it shows that you know what you're talking about. But you don't remember all those details. What you remember is that Kathy and John have grandkids and they want to make memories with them. And that's why they're doing the remodel. So they have that goal, but they have the bad island. So they hired Fry to change the functionality of their kitchen. Any questions before I move on?
Yes, Brian has a comment. We have done lots of projects like this, but never thought it was a storytelling, story worth telling to put on our website. Thoughts?
Yeah. So that's exactly why I chose this project to be the first one, because it's like, admittedly, this is a small scale project. This isn't like a massive, beautiful project. I don't even particularly care for the style of it, the Arizona style that it is, but it's not relevant to being able to tell a good story. If people are dropping this much money on a renovation, there's a reason that they're doing it. There's probably an emotional core there somewhere. So it's just a matter of finding what that deeper why is and then telling it. Yeah.
Blair said, do you believe that video is better than nothing, even if it's not perfect or perfectly produced?
Yeah, none of mine have ever been perfect. I every single time I look back and I think of things I could change, and I I'm one of the people that is very hard critiquing myself, and there are very few times I'm happy with the thing I made. So 100%, it's better to go ahead and make it and get started, um, and then slowly improve. Because you can sit there and critique other people's videos, and you can say, well, they're doing it poorly. At least they're doing it. That's the first step. Doing something badly is the first step to doing it good. Yeah,
Yeah. And
cool.
then Blair also added, girl, I think that's how you pronounce it. You're talking to a bunch of contractors. Come on, which I think what Blair is saying is that you're telling me we're going to do this not perfect and perfectly produced. I think that's what that means.
Yeah, yeah.
But to answer that question too, I mean, there's something to be said for having to invest dollars in having a professional come in and create real video where you've got the B-roll footage. There's things that once you start getting the video, you're like, oh, there's a B-roll footage, and it's like HGTV, like things are coming in and out. Oh, wait a minute, this video is super lame. Why is it lame? Oh, there's not even any music. That's why I love these videos, because there's the music in the background. So bringing in a professional does elevate it very, very quickly. Where it's not, no, it doesn't have to be perfect or perfectly produced, but there's those levels. And then there's a whole nother level of know, like, and trust related videos that can absolutely be iPhone. We're walking a job site. I wanted to show you something. So there's stories to be told, plenty of stories to be told like this. There's plenty of stories to be told where you're not even on video, you're just showing this. Stories can come in professional form, in less professional form, in written form, in audio form. So I think the big thing is the more you practice storytelling, the more content you're going to create. And yes, as a professional remodeler, it's good. It's good to have real professional videos going. All right, we're going to hold that for hold the rest of those. Keep on cruising, Aaron, and then we'll keep the questions coming, folks.
Yep. Yep. So that's Joe's comment that he sent us there, saying that people they looked up lower the bar top on a kitchen island, and that was the first thing that popped up. We got the job because of the video. Here's another example without a video. So this is just a web page that we created. So it can be done without video. Being a videographer, obviously, I'm partial to it. I think it is always a better, quicker way to get information across. But again, this isn't a webinar on video. It's a webinar on storytelling, which can be done in many different media. So Justin's quote here says, landed my first sale off the website, $2,500 design on $150,000 to $125,000 kitchen remodel. They fell in love with the kitchen on our featured project page, and they want us to duplicate it. He almost made back-to-back sales immediately after. You don't get them all, but that would have been nice. So on this page, we go through, and we have a similar format on the page, immediately going in, showing a picture of what they're looking to get. Main floor kitchen remodel in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. This obviously shows them what they're looking to get and where they are. So you're immediately answering questions for people of, are you in my area? Yes. Are you doing with the project I need? Yes. We're going through key features, timeline, location. Then we go through, again, we have that problem. We're going through defining what does that problem look like for them? What was the challenge that they had? Hope and Jeff originally purchased their home before starting their family. Over time, the first floor layout became restrictive, separating family members and limiting gatherings. With no desire to move, they needed a thoughtful remodel to enhance the flow and function of the main living space of their home. So now we have a story. We have main characters here. We have Hope and Jeff. Then we go through. We're creating that slide for them now.
That's a great name to make up if you're going to make up a name too, like Hope and Jeff.
Yeah.
That just gives you, it's got some story to it.
Yeah,
Actually, it probably was their actual name too.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. We typically use the real names. So then we have the remodeling process here: design, build, enjoy. You have the 3 steps, and then we go through and we simply show the solution, the finished photos of the project. Now, I'll get into some mistakes later on, but this seems like a good time to talk about this. Most of the times what you'll see on Remodeler's website is they will have a featured projects pages or a gallery page, and it will just be this. It will just be this section right here with no context. The problem with that is without that context, it's not memorable. You don't understand, was it solving a problem that they were having? What was the overall goal? It doesn't have the same impact on people. This in context of they have like all of a sudden this photo of all the shoes in here in the basketball, you understand that they're a growing family now and they're doing this remodel for their growing family. So what makes sense? To have a drop-off area by the back door. Now the pieces start to come together and things start to be they make more sense.
And what's the sentence or two that's at the top of the finished photos?
Yeah, the remodel created a warm and welcoming first floor layout, allowing Hope and Jeff to comfortably host family and friends without feeling crowded. Thoughtful renovations improved flow, visibility, and functionality, transforming their home into an ideal place to gather and enjoy quality family time.
Yeah, what I think is interesting about this example is there's no video in this example. There's a lot of different ways to tell a story and to slice it. This is a way that you could really, if you're not doing any of these at all, you could get started with this pretty quickly. And we're kind of given the blueprint here of boom, 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 boom. The other thing that I see on here is, there's just a smorgasbord of great social media content here. Grab an image that talks about the problem, do the next slide that talks about the process, do the next slide that talks about the solution. There's a, take one of the before photos, one of the after with a little explanation of it. This storytelling in written form, and very simple, quick written form, is very effective.
Yeah. And so that's my whole point in showing this one is here's another example that still worked even without video. So even if that's not something that's possible for you right now, don't say I won't do anything. Like we were saying earlier, like doing something is better than nothing. You can, at the very least, this is much more attainable for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm going to interject another question. Matt had asked, how do we go about finding the problem that your clients face?
It's communication with them. For me, what I do is they have the rule of a lot. I think Marcus Sheridan has the rule of you ask why 3 times. Somebody will say, well, why'd you want this kitchen remodel done? And they'll say, we wanted to have more space. Well, why did you want to have more space? Well, so we could host our family. Okay. And then one of the questions I always ask is, okay, well, why now? Like, you could have done this at any point in your life. What was the thing that pushed you over now? And then you get to, well, we were going to host people for Christmas this year. And we were kind of embarrassed about having people in our space. And so now we have a deadline. We have a thing that's relatable to more people. So you just keep asking those why questions. And then that other trick is I always ask, okay, why now? If I understand why you did it, but was it just financially the right time, or was there an outside reason? And usually there almost always is. So here's another example in video form of how you can do this. This is one of my favorite ones that I made for Integrity Home Pro.
Hi, my name is Frederick Howes, and this is my wife,
Beverly Howes,
and we live in Upper Marlboro, Maryland.
We reached out to Integrity because I wanted to move. It was cramped.
It was segmented, but I said to her, what can I do to keep you here?
I had a list, non-negotiables. I had to have my 15-foot island. I had to have my pot filler, mixer lift. Oh, and my double oven. Been in this house for almost 28 years, and I never had a double oven.
That's how our adventure started.
And he really said, what mama wants, mama gets.
I did. That was it.
That's what he said.
That was my slogan. Talking to Ben, we asked him 1,000 other questions about every other thing we wanted to do, and he was so patient with us.
We had him here for about, 5 hours?
It seemed like it.
Yeah. Yeah, using this space is really, truly what we wanted.
The way it is now, we can have everybody in one spot. We're all talking. We don't miss out on each other's company.
We're a big family once again, and we love to celebrate. So now I'm just elated that we didn't move. And I say, let's continue to go. They're about to do our bathroom. That's how much we love them. So we're very proud of the process. Sometimes I come down and I'm like, wow, I still can't believe I got my kitchen done. This has to be my pride and joy.
So that was for Integrity Home Pro, and I love that one for a lot of reasons. One, they are just such good characters. Like, part of what helped with that one, I'll tell you this, is we did a pre-interview with them beforehand. It was something we were trying for a bit of like, well, what if I did a Zoom call with them just to get through some of the basic questions and stuff? And it did two things for us. One, it helped me to know where to go when I was asking questions in the real interview with them. It saved time for them. It helped guide it. It cut down on edit times later. And two, because I knew where I was going and they'd already met me, it was a much more fun interview. They didn't feel like they had to say the exact right things. They weren't trying to act any particular way. Like in that video, you can hear me laughing, mostly because I couldn't take it out at the time. But it was literally like that was the environment that we were creating while we were doing that video, because the space was fun. They were fun people. The video needs to feel fun. And so in that video, we have their initial problem of clearly they're empty nesters. The kids are out of the house. They have this big space now. And the question is, do we move or do we renovate the kitchen? And then they go into, well, if we're going to renovate the kitchen, we need this, 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 and this. And then by the end, we have Beverly literally saying, and now I'm glad we didn't move. We have the footage of all the people coming over to the house. I'll tell you another thing for free is, instead of talking about how good it could be in that space, if you can get your clients to send you footage of them actually using it, it doesn't need to be professional. That will sell it so much more, because people aren't buying the empty kitchen. They aren't buying all of the material selections. What they're buying is that one night that's going to happen when they can have all their friends over and everybody's in the kitchen and they're laughing and having fun and making memories. Like that's
And did
what
you guys
they're
ask them
buying.
for that little footage, or did that just come natural?
No, yeah. So I gave Beverly and Fred a call afterwards because they talked about in the interview having everybody over for Easter. And so that's what that was from. I was like, you guys, like, did anybody grab any photos or videos of that? And they're like, oh yeah, we have one. It's not very good. It's in vertical. I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Logan asked, well, I'm not sure which Logan this is. He doesn't have his last name on there, but when I was talking smack to Logan Shinholzer earlier, he said, hey, let's not diss on the Logans. So all the Logans, including my nephew, I apologize. How long was that interview for Integrity Home Pro?
That is a fantastic question. If we want to do more questions, then I'll come back to that one because that leads into my next point, or we can just go right into my next point.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah?
I'll circle back on the other ones.
Okay. So common mistakes that you can make with this. That's kind of like, that is my favorite example of what you could create using these tactics. The common mistakes that you would see is not having info for a story. We went over that one a little bit, but the more common one is having too much info. So one of the questions you were just asking is, how long was that interview? Here is the raw interview. The only thing I cut out was, I'm not going to actually play this. Actually, I'll mute it and play it. It's 12 minutes of them saying incredibly good things about Integrity Home Pro. And that's honestly one of the shorter interviews. I will say some of them go up closer to 20 minutes. I like them to be shorter because that means that I had a much more guided focus of what I was asking. It doesn't really take that long to get what you're looking for.
It may have been your pre-call, but it also, like, when you got talent and they're just feeding you everything that you could ever want, it's like, oh, you're making this so easy for us.
100%. Some people, it's like pulling teeth, and other people, they'll go through and they'll just spit information out. And so then you're like, okay, check. I have all of those things I need. So one of the things I did here was, this is the hardest part when you guys get into this stuff, whether you have somebody that's doing testimonial videos for you or you're putting information on the site. I had ChatGPT go through, make a transcript of that 12-minute interview, and here's a list of all of the things that they said in those 12 minutes. Their names, they live in Upper Marlboro, they were close to paying off their mortgage, they didn't want to move and start over financially. We see that Fred, he's very numbers focused. He's the guy that was like, well, maybe we don't want to, we got to do this the right way. We go through, we have a lot of problems with their kitchen. They had a small island, people were split up. Then we get into the really tricky stuff to cut out that's like talking about their decision to work with integrity. They had a bunch of friends from church recommend them. They had their friends who complete multiple projects with integrity. They the friends had known them for 30 years. They moved into the home originally. Going through, it just goes on and on. All the things that they said in these 12 minutes. But then what I had it do was, okay, let's just highlight the things that made the cut. So in this first section, we have a lot of information on the background. Actually, this is a good section to do it with. The original kitchen problems. Here's all the things they said about the original kitchen. It was small, a small island. The dining room and kitchen were separated by walls. The guests were spread across multiple rooms. People had to walk through the walls to interact with each other. The layout prevented everyone from being together in one space.
And I don't know if you've ever tried to walk through walls. It's not easy.
It's not easy. That's the thing, and that's why they need to get this done. It's not easy. The segmentation caused them to miss out on each other's company, and hosting felt disjointed and inefficient. All of those are good, but the only one that made the cut was them saying it was segmented. Because I can say that, and I can show the photo of it, and that all of the other stuff can get implied. This is the hardest part about whenever you're creating a page or doing a video. They're going to say a lot of good stuff. And if you try and include every little thing, it will get back to that mess of information that we talked about, like that image of the kitchen where you have all this information all over the place. You're giving people too much. So the hardest part is going through and deciding what stays and what goes. And knowing this information is fantastic. It doesn't fit in with the story. And so I'm going to trust what Aaron said and I'm going to cut it. Because Aaron has spent hours and hours and hours just torturing myself making these decisions of, I can't cut that line. It's such a good line. I can't cut that line. And then I go through and I test it and we look at it and I go, but it doesn't fit the story, so it doesn't matter. For example, she had her non-negotiables in the video. She also had under cabinet lighting, a microwave with a push button touch, and a dedicated coffee maker. I show all of those things in the footage, but I don't need to specifically talk about them. These are the things that were more prevalent to hosting and having people over. 15-foot island, pot filler, mixer lift, double oven. And the things that really will get you is when they start talking about like what their experience was like. Look at this construction and demo experience I skipped. Demo was quieter than expected. The demo process was calm and controlled. There was no loud, chaotic sledgehammering. The project site was kept clean daily. Workers cleaned up every day before leaving. Those are all great things to say, and I didn't touch them in that video.
And there's other content you could, with proper editing time, you could create a few little quick videos around some of these other things too.
Yeah, but if you try to shove every single detail in this one thing, you might as well just upload that 12-minute testimonial here and call it a day.
Yeah,
but
there's Bailey just texted me, and I had already written it down too. When she was in college, she had a professor that said, kill your darlings.
Yes.
Kill your darlings, of like, oh, but I love that line. I love this. There's that. A quote that I love is, hey, this letter would have been shorter, but I didn't have enough time. Yeah. Meaning the editing phase is where so much of the value is. And as you all are watching this live, or even if you're watching the recording, some of you may not actually do the creating of the videos, but like a lot of things, you guys learning this and starting to spot stories. When you hire somebody, you're going to be a better buyer of video or website development or whatnot. The ideas of, man, if I fed some of these stories into ChatGPT and said, I'm looking for an outline of how to create something similar. Even CGN, you guys have like outlines of some of your free content of like, here's kind of the story outline and whatnot. But I think I'm guessing everybody listening to this is like, oh, it makes so much sense. And it's very compelling, and it makes so much good info. And then Blair said, so the 12-minute raw interview, how long was the edited testimonial? I think it was 1:55, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was under 2. I try to keep everything definitely under 3. My goal for the videos is, to me, I never think of them separate from the page. I think they're a part of the page. Like, that's kind of how their functionality is the best, is you have them at the top of this page. The page gives a lot more information, but I want the video to get across the overall idea and the feeling of the space. So I want people to get all the way through. If they get midway through and they get bored, not a good sign for their excitement. If they're not even excited enough to watch the rest of the video, it can't be that exciting of a remodel. That's kind of my thought process.
It's good. Oh, we're going to take 60 seconds. Everybody write in their takeaway so far. We're getting into that 40 something after. We got a
Yeah.
few more slides here. Then we got some Q&A to wrap us off. But give me a takeaway or even an action you're going to take as a result of this webinar so far. Put it in the chat, please. Aaron, you're doing great.
Thank you.
Outstanding. Yeah. Camille says, ask more questions. It's about the clients, not the builder. Ooh, that's a good one. People will connect with the clients more than the remodeler. Goal, but problem solution in all your content. Great filter. I need to find a video person, Lloyd says. Story equals goal, but problem, solution. That one resonated. Apparently, I need to be investing more heavily in better quote unquote video. Yeah, not necessarily. You can go either way. Asking why. Awesome. The hero's journey, Chris said.
Yeah.
Oh, we're delivering value, Aaron. Doesn't that feel good?
That does feel good. That's
All
always
right, carry on.
nice. All right. So next mistake that people make when they do this is they go through and in the testimonial or on the web page, it's the testimonial version is the testimonial is 5 minutes long and it's people saying all of these nice things. The web page version is you say a lot of things about yourself that don't really need to be said and would be better if you would just show. Instead of, for example, me saying about how them going on and on about how much they love the process of working with Ben, how much they love Integrity Home Pro. I did two things in the video that showed that. I showed them laughing and talking with Ben, them having a good interaction with him to show like it's not just like we had a good like one-time process, but like we have a good relationship with Ben. Like that speaks volumes. Yeah, we got a fist bump from Ben. And then they also in that say, instead of saying like, oh, we love them and we trust them, we're recommending them to all those people, that stuff's hard to cut. But what I put in there is we've already hired them to do our bathroom, which speaks volumes more than saying like, oh yeah, we recommended them to other people. It's like we're already moving forward with another project because of how good the first one was. So that's an example on the right here. You can have all that, show those things. I already talked a little bit about showing the people using the space. And then again, I've also covered on the left side there, instead of going through all the individual problems with the space, you don't really need to hammer that. You kind of just can tell people, here's the general thing. People understand like, yeah, that kitchen sucks. You can show the picture and that will come across. Next thing is not having a hook on your stories. I used to be opposed to this. I didn't like it. I thought it meant that people would say, oh, attention spans are getting worse. You know, you have to just appease to all this short form content. I don't care for short form content, like being like a long form video person. However, it's not evil and it's not wrong to have hooks and get people immediately. It's not that they have a short attention span. It's that you haven't done anything to build trust with them. You need to let them know, here's where we're going. If you trust me for the next 80 seconds, 90 seconds, I'll take you to a place you want to go. You need to show them that stuff up front. So in video format, you saw in the Fred and Beverly video, before we introduced anything else, I just had like 15 seconds of us showing the final product. Because people are they need to know that's where we're heading. Okay, I'm bought in. On the web page, what that looks like, here's another example of a physical one we made. Right off the bat, as soon as you come in, you have finished project. Here's an ADU build that they made. And that's a link to the video that we made to them, so you can watch that there. But you're immediately getting them into the project at a glance. Here's the final thing. Here's the timeline. Here's where it is. We know where we're going. Now we can get into okay, now we have challenges. Here's the bridge that we're building. And now now we're getting home. This is the final goal and the full transformation. But all of that starts, like if you skip that first step, it's not because people have short attention spans. It's because you have not built any trust with them. There's no reason for them to think that you're going to take them to a good spot, that you value their time as much as they do. You have to show them that immediately. And I believe this is my last one. Then we can get into some questions. Yeah. My last thing is thinking that potential clients care about you, or because I heard this in the takeaways, thinking about they care about your client immediately. I made that mistake when I first started making videos. I won't even play it because we're running short on time. I want to do Q&A. But one of the questions or one of the problems with my original videos is I was thinking story, story, story. You got to get them emotionally invested. They need to care about these people. That's what's going to make them stick around to the video. No, it's not. What they care about is the space. Before they care about anything else, they care about the project. And so if you are immediately showing the project, they don't care. This is Karen and she's a painter and her old home had no light in it and her mom would always shut the curtains. And so she had this beautiful, added all these windows into her dining room. I went really in depth on that, but I didn't show the dining room for the first minute and a half of it. And so there's no reason for us to care about who Karen is if we don't like the project that she's getting done. That's why they're coming to the page. And so making that change in your head of they don't care about me and they don't care about my clients until they care about the project, what they can actually get done. And then those parts do come along, like you guys were saying, like you're smiling along to the video. Okay, we do like these people, but you're not going to stick around for it.
I mean, I said they were. They could have been watching YouTube because you were boring them.
That's
They
true.
could have been watching something else, but I'm
Oh my
pretty sure
gosh.
we had them locked in. Aaron, you had an outline for today. Number one, what is storytelling? Storytelling, we nailed that. Number two, what does it matter for closing sales? We talked about that. Number three, real examples. Showed several of those in different formats. And number four, common mistakes and pitfalls. We nailed all four of those, and we're just left with about 10 minutes of question and answer.
Yeah, I meant to do more, but we incorporated some questions along the way.
That was great. Couple other takeaways here. Yeah, the story and the people made me trust. Yeah, I almost forgot what was actually done. The story and the people made me trust the company. Another takeaway, adding in the client's why to our PDA presentation. So if I'm looking at a professional development agreement and I find out even really early on, why are they wanting to do this? Boy, capturing that adds a little emotion to things. John says, I'm interested in learning about Aaron's services. Can we share this recording via email? Yes, we will. We'll send out the recording to everybody who registered as well. So keep some questions coming. And then Aaron, also, you can share a little bit more about CGN. Where do they go to find out more, sir?
Yeah, 100%. You can head over to our website, contractorgrowthnetwork.com. Ashley is actually on the call right now. You can go through our website and schedule a call with her if there's anything that you're interested in. Our main services right now is website development and SEO. So the second two parts of going through and kind of telling those stories through your website. But yeah, that's 100%. That's probably the best place to reach out to us is go through that. And it's not some scary thing. You'll just be scheduling time to talk with Ashley and getting to talk to her. And Ashley's nice.
Maybe she's scary. I saw her Job Tread Connect a couple weeks ago. She seemed very, very sweet, but I've never been on a one-on-one Zoom call. She might be intimidating. Let's get some other questions. What would be an ideal number of kind of project stories that we should be aiming for?
It's a good question. I would say based on how many thinking about like if you've already done the work up ahead to know who your ideal clients are and how many different personas you have, I would have at least one per persona. So if you have like you work really well with like empty nesters or like another one that we often do is aging in place, people that they're coming in and they want to make different changes to their bathroom or to their kitchen so that way as they age they can use it better. Or
Chris just got excited because he literally just wrote a book about aging in place.
Oh, nice. Very good. And then like,
put a link to it in the chat box, Chris.
Another one is like the vacation home or the snowbird, somebody that communication is very important to them because they live up north and they come down and they aren't going to be there for the construction, but they would still want to keep a close eye. This is somebody that has a lot of money. They want it really nicely done, but they really are interested in what kind of communication do you have.
So it's interesting that they gave a little more insight. Buyer personas, like who are, if you were to group kind of your various ideal clients, and then to find a story that ties in with each of those. That's great.
That's what I do. And then doing that somewhat regularly so that way it's updated. But at the very least, I would just have one per each persona. Yeah.
Cool. Brian said CGN's great. We work with them to rebuild our website and continue to work with them. Luke asked, recommend a call to action at the end of these storytelling videos?
It depends. To me, again, I always think of these in context of the page. My call to action most of the time, For a while, I was putting these up on YouTube. I mean, always put them up on YouTube, but I was having to call the A, like head over to our website where you can learn more. That was the CTA I did use. I don't really do it anymore, mainly because what I found is the way most of these videos are getting viewed is just because people are already on the page. And the thing I want them to do is close out the video and scroll down.
It's good.
So I like that because they all say that we think that people buy on logic, but they really buy on emotion and then justify it with logic. So everything I'm hearing from you today, Aaron, is like, lean into the emotion, lean into the why, lean into the what is the reasoning or what is the motivation and what is the problem that's being solved as opposed to, what size nails did you use? And,
And and there's a place for those things as long as they're tying into why that was important to the homeowner's final goal. But that's not the thing that people are going to remember. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. If I'm a remodeler and I'm going, okay, I've heard about these. This is not the first time I've heard about this. I've seen it. I've seen it even today. Like, it just makes good sense. It makes good marketing sense. I need to lean into this more. Yes, one option, let's say it loud and clear. CGN does excellent work with this. You could set up time, chat with Ashley momentarily, bada bing, bada boom. Let's say I have somebody like, I got that friend who's got a kid who's got a knack for video. Maybe I find somebody just local, kind of keep it, just try something. What would be some of your, here's kind of how you get started, some different ways that you could get started with this?
Yeah, so it depends what your goal is. Because some people want to get into social media storytelling. Maybe it's not, you want to post these videos on your website. You don't want to make the long form yet, but you kind of want to have short snippets to give to people. That can be pretty simple. You just need somebody who enjoys social media. Those things don't have to be super polished. The big caveat to hiring any videographer, the reason why it's important for you guys to know this, and I should have said this up front, so good question, Kyle. When you hire a videographer or a media company or somebody like that, they might really know the specifics on how to work a camera or how to make the lighting and the sound work really well. They don't understand the industry or how to sell your product. And it's very possible they aren't thinking of that. And so no matter what path you go down, whoever you're getting, you have to bring to the relationship, unless you know for sure that they are, what is the goal of this video? What are we hoping comes out of it? What makes it a successful video? And it's not just that it looks pretty. There are times like we have a client, 7-day kitchens, that they do kitchens in 7 days. To me, it's very important that their videos look beautiful, because the main thing you're going to be worried about with 7-day kitchens is how are they actually, can they actually make a kitchen that's good in 7 days? So I want to make sure that those videos are absolutely fantastic. So that way, any doubts you have, but again, that only matters in context of it. So it's, whoever you hire, think about the why behind it, and bring that to them. Yeah.
That's good. Logan asked, how long is your average video story testimonial? We've done some at 90 seconds, and it just seems too short to tell the whole story.
I wouldn't, 90 seconds could be a little short. I would say on average, I'm sitting at about 2 minutes, 30 seconds, somewhere around there. It depends on the video. Like, you can get away with extra. Sometimes what we do is, I'll have the contractor do a walkthrough of the space, and I'll do a testimonial, and we'll cut those two together. So then the contractor gives kind of those details, and the homeowner gives the emotion. And when you're cutting back and forth like that, you can go further with people's attention and kind of hold it for longer. But I would say around that 3-minute mark cap is where I like to be.
Excellent. And I'd add on these stories, think of it also from the other, just the broader marketing sense. These videos are great, obviously, for the actual project page on your website. They're great to even have on the homepage. They're great social media posts. You posted one of your videos 6 months ago, post it again regularly. Use these. These are great sales tools. You're going out to a nice appointment for that ADU. You absolutely should have that ADU video in your follow-up email the day before you go out there or the day after you go. Think of how you can be using this content in so many sales and marketing related ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Aaron,
Yeah.
Final word. If they heard nothing else from you today, what did you want them to hear other than go to contractorgrowthnetwork.com? John's already got an appointment. John's already got an appointment next week with Ashley. Cool. What's the...
I guess if it had to be a single word, it would be why. If I could expand on that a little bit more, it would be finding people's and telling about their why. I think that's the biggest thing of all of it, is understanding what their why is and expressing that to other people for them to connect with.
It's excellent. And finding the why is also amazing for your sales work. Like we should be asking that more and more. Ooh, and then Luke snuck in one more. I have a design build company. Is it important that I am in the video or that the designer is?
It's a mix of who is the most comfortable and confident on camera, who can speak the most precisely about it. However, also realize that that person who's in the video, people are going to build up trust with them. So if it's a designer that like is part-time or something like that, they're never going to interact with that person. Just realize that's kind of a risk you're taking. But I would say still overall, it's whoever is the most compelling on camera. If they can speak intelligently about it and they have design, this is why I did this, is why I did this, I think that's important.
And Luke, my answer is if I had beautiful hair like you, I'd be absolutely on video. Absolutely on video. Amazing. Aaron, little round of applause for Aaron. He did an amazing job. That was great. Appreciate the prep that went into it. Appreciate all the technology work and the examples, speaking from the heart. It was wonderful. Thank you all for dialing in as well. Reach out anytime and check out contractorgrowthnetwork.com. All right. See y'all. Be well. Stay warm.